Hello, everyone. I'm Lijuan from Intel. My major work DPDK validation and some performance testing. And this is Jeremy. Let's have an introduce.
Yep. So I'm Jeremy. I'm from the University of New Hampshire Interoperability Laboratory, and I'll be just calling it as IOL for short, and I'll be discussing the DPDK Open Lab, or formerly the DPDK Performance Lab.
Yes, our today's topic is the DPDK CI and the Open Lab, and I will talk the DPDK CI and Jeremy the Open Lab. Yeah, this is the agenda. We will first update the current DPDK continuous integration status, and we will propose some improvement, and then I will talk about our practice in the Open Lab. And the end, Jeremy will talk about the Open Lab and the CI and the dashboard. I think the best way for me to introduce the DPDK CI is to show you a picture. And you can see in the picture we will have the develops, and in the top there is the DPDK.org. We will have the patchwork and the repository in this. And also, our DPDK CI, the control center, we will have the Jenkins server here. For the Jenkins server, we will have the control center, and there we will schedule the taskers and schedule the text and dispatch it to different test beds. In the test beds, we will have the virtual test beds for the build test and the physical machines for the function test, unit test, and the performance test. And then I will show you examples how the DPDK CI works. First, we will develop send out the patch set to DPDK.org. The control center will download the patch set and apply the patches into the master branch, the master tree, and then the control center will dispatch the code to different test beds, and for the test beds, will do their own tests, and the reports will go back to the central center, and then the central center collect all the reports, and the reports will go back to the DPDK.org. Maybe for developers, they don't want to get the reports for the text or past. Maybe they don't just want to get the reports that failed. So we will only back the reports that error or fails back to the developers. What we have talked is that the DPDK overall the CI, but actually DPDK CI have two paths. We have separate two paths: the before merge, what we have talked, and we also have another path we call the after merge. The after merge is that the master tree, actually it's the master tree, the patches have merged into the master tree, and we will test the master tree. We call this the after merge test. So you know, as the before merge part, we will start from the step 1 and end to the step 6. For the after merge, we will start from the step 2 and also to the 6. Then I will update the current status. From the table, you can see what we have implemented and what we don't have. The text is what we have implemented. We currently have the build in the before merge part. We have the build test, and in the Intel lab, and we will have the performance test. We have done in some performance testing in the Open Lab, and also in the after merger, we have the unit test, build test, and the function test. This is in the Intel lab, and also this report will send out to the community. And this is the class. The class is what we still don't have. And in the future work, we are trying to involve all the gaps. And the unit test and the function test is a gap in the before merge part, and the performance test in the after merge part. And I have talked about the gaps, unit test, function test, and performance test. And this is I want to raise up a preference for this. As the team talked, we have 8 subtrees in the DPDK register. And for the CI's difficulties is how to divide the patch set to go to the weight tree. For the 8 subtrees, we should go to the master tree, the vertical tree, or maybe some next net tree. This is the preference that I want to talk about today. And I will bring up my answers for this preference. I will talk about 2 options for these issues. Let's have a look at the before merge, the workflows. As we have 3 stages: the apply stage, the build stage, and the test stage. For the apply stage, we will apply the patch set into the tree, maybe the master tree, and the subtree, we will apply it. And then we will go to the build or the test in parallel. All the text and the build are implemented in parallel. And for the build test, we will have different combinations of the OS, the compiler, and the architecture. For example, we will have the CentOS and the GCC on the 64 bits on x86 architecture, and also we will have the Ubuntu and Clang on the 32 x86 architecture. Currently, we have the 70 combination with this build tester, and this is the unit test, function test, and performance test. This is our future's work. Currently, our DPDK CI still don't have these parts, and this is what we want to implement. We want to improve in the future. We want to involve the unit test, function test, and performance in the before merge. At the performance test in this year, we have involved some cases in the Open Lab. In the future, we want to involve more and more cases, and want to cover the improve our coverage at both unit and function test. And this is the preference we have mentioned. It's the tree, subtree, and the weight tree. As this is, I give examples of the trees of the DPDK register. We have the DPDK master tree and the subtrees, totally about subtrees. And I give the examples. We maybe have the tree invented dev, and maybe the next net, next crypto, and next volatile. And this is my answers to these questions. Which tree we should go? We will have 2 options. So option 1, we will go to the next master, and the option 2, we want to let him go to the exactly maybe the subtree, maybe the next net. It depends on what we identify for the patch set. Let's have a look at the option 1. Option 1, go to the next master. When we receive a patch set, we will first go to the legacy mode. We will first apply to the master tree. And if the apply sucks, we will directly go to the next steps. We will go to the build and the test. If the conflict happens here, we will apply the patch set to the next master. For the next master, what is the next master? This we will define it as we will merge all the subtrees into the master trees, and in the local, we call this local tree the master trees. Actually, I think this is maybe the future master in there. Actually, for the maintainers, they will have a weekly merge. They will merge subtrees to the master tree. Here we will do maybe do a draft to merge subtree and to master tree in the local. And then I will take you to look at the option 2. Option 2, the idea is from the file from the maintainers. We'll have a file called maintenance in the DPDK. For this file, you can see we will have the maintainer information, we will have the tree information, also we have the file machine. This is there are mapping informations in the maintenance file. We want to utilize this file, and we want to use a script to analyze the patch set, and then find out which tree should the patch set to go. But these have difficulties on the way to. As you know, a patch set have several patches, and for every patch made from the mapping information, we will go to the different trees. So we need to analyze the history and give a percentage of the property. And this is another problem. For the property, it's not make sure the tree. Yes, it may be just a property. We will maybe just a percentage. So this is another problem for this. So we have a combination of the tree of the options. For the option 1, I think we will prefer this. It's true just because we will merge the subtree. For the future, maybe it's a future master, next master tree, we will have no dependence because we merged all subtrees into the main. All the patch set may have some future dependence. They have all in the next master. And we don't need any extra script or work will contain in our CI work, and we don't need to develop don't need to any extra work involved to the community. And also we will have any benefit as mentioned for the maintainers. We already have a weekly merger work. They will merge the subtrees into the master tree every week. So thanks for the maintainers' effort for this. And also we will the item 4 that we will earlier for the to find the issues. As we know, for some features, we have test trees in the subtrees, and it works. But after merge to the master tree, maybe they have conflict with other features, and it may not work. And we use these options. It may make the issues opened, and we will find these issues earlier. We will find it earlier. And to get to know some features may not work in the master tree. But the cons is we will delay if merge. As you know, we will merge the subtree, and it may be conflict. So when the conflict, we will need to notify the maintainers to ask them to an early merge, and further we will depend on the maintainers manually work to fix the conflict. I think this will make the text will delay some days. So this is the cons. And let's look at the option 2. Option 2 as the biggest crux is that it's terminal reports. When we get the subtrees, we will actually get the reports as soon as possible. We don't have any we don't depend on any manual work. It's just all automated in the group. So this is the time where we are separate. Maybe as I think when we all test, we will go back to the community. It's very timely. It's in a very short time contains in the. So, but we will have to develop an extra script to figure out which the percentage of the subtrees. So we need to develop extra script, and because of the property, there's still uncertainty. It's still maybe for some we not know what we not sure we not make sure they're actually true. This is what we have our problems with current before-merge part. And then I will talk about the after-merger part. This is the workflow. This is more easy than the before-merge. As we will know, we will just, for the stage 1, we just need to download the master tree, and we will some issues on the tree, on the apply issue. We just download and go to the build on the text. For this build, we have build and test. We have a daily regression test. For the build part, we have 15.5 combinations in the after-merge. And for the tests, we have thousands of tests, the 4 of regressions in the unit tests and the function tests in different platform, different OS and different compiler. This is thousands of test cases, but for the performance test case, we still don't have. I think we will enable this test in our future. Then I will have an overlook at our future plan, maybe how to narrow down these gaps in the Open Lab. As the Open Lab is our DPDK Open Lab, and it's established by Linux Foundation. There is no bias, so we want to, in the future, we want to enable these gaps for the unit function test in the Open Lab. Of course, we will first try to do some implemental in our Intel lab, and when the option is actually stable, and we will move to the Open Lab, and we will implement it in the Open Lab, and everyone can use through the Open Lab and can get the benefit of the overall future. In the past year, we have enabled the single core performance test in the Open Lab. We have enabled the DTS, the DPDK test suite in the Open Lab. We will use the Open Lab for the single core test, and for the next. We will go to enable more basic and critical performance testing. And I think we will try to scope the Open Lab to the function test and unit test, and maybe some DPDK application based tester, maybe some OS, but it depends. Next, I will have Jeremy to give us introduce of the Open Lab and what we have in the Open Lab and the Open Lab.
All right. So I'm going to be talking about the Open Lab at the IOL UNH site. And for some context, essentially the dashboard, the backend for the dashboard has been in development since about November, December of last year. And we started gathering data in March of this year. And the dashboard itself, the front end, was started in May of this year. So it's still a relatively new project and still under development, and could use some more features over time. So I'll be going over what exactly it is, who is it hosted by, and who are the participants of the Open Lab, what are the plans for the future and some short-term goals, and then how members can get involved with the dashboard. So this is how it looks like right now. Essentially, the goal is to measure relative performance of patches compared to the baseline of master. So what we log is just relative performance numbers. We don't log absolute numbers, and that's just to keep things neutral between members, because it is not meant to be used as a benchmarking tool. It is just meant to compare whether if patches have a performance degradation or if they're just fine. So it uses the Patchwork API. So every patch that gets submitted to Patchwork under like the new or RFC or some other specific tags will automatically run on the dashboard. For members, it also provides a REST API. So members can grab their data and run their own analytics on it if they so choose. And then on the specific statuses, as kind of mentioned before, is just the passing, possible regression, incomplete, some waiting. So when a patch comes in, it'll say if it's incomplete, like it needs to run on, essentially once to get an overall result, it needs to run on all the machines. And while it's running, it might be incomplete because some machines run some tests or run more tests than other machines. And it's all member-driven. So every feature that has been put in has been basically requested by members and prioritized by members. So once you click on a specific patch set, it essentially just brings you to the detailed view page. And from this page, you can view the actual relative performance numbers. And can view the hardware configuration and the test setup. And members can download artifacts generated by Jenkins. So the way these tests are ran is they use the DPDK test suite, or DTS, the single core performance test. And once results are generated, vendors can download artifacts, and also vendors can rerun tests in case there's some weird discrepancy between measurements. In the future, we hope to add more test cases besides the single core performance test, but that's the current test case right now. So who is it hosted by? It's the University of New Hampshire Interoperability Lab, or I'll be saying as the IOL. And about the IOL, they are a nonprofit, neutral organization. We have over 100 different companies at the IOL, and we do essentially a lot of network testing. We do like IEEE conformance testing, or we do specifically interoperability testing between different vendors, and we're confidential and very neutral about this type of testing. This is kind of why the Open Lab, one of the decisions to choose the IOL for the Open Lab is because we provide that neutral environment for members. And the current participants is for the Open Lab at the IOL is Intel, Mellanox, and NXP. So what's for the future? So as mentioned before, to run more test cases, and maybe even run other test suites, not just DTS. But that's, again, dependent on what members want. If they don't want to run the DTS test suite, that's fine. So we just need to know, and we'll add that feature. So user management. So right now, currently, if you would like an account to view results, you have to email us, and we'll generate an account for you. So it'd be nice to streamline the process and have maybe some registration page or link DPDK accounts to be able to get that detailed information. And we might add more graphing integration, such as with Grafana. But for now, if members want to do some type of special graphing, they can try to use the REST API to do that. And then based on discussion from yesterday with a lot of people, and as discussed in the previous slides, is to add more traditional continuous integration, such as unit tests and function tests. And what's nice is that since we have a lot of different hardware at the IOL, we'll be able to run those different unit tests on all the different hardware. So in case there's a regression on one system or another, we'll be able to tell users about that. Yeah. And it would be nice for vendors to have a hardware overview page, because right now we kind of just email them when they get their device, like what the IP is, host name. So it'd be nice for them to just have an overview page. And then as a short-term goal, if you go onto the lab's website right now, you'll notice that everything is passing. This is not supposed to be a like every test passes scenario. We expect to see performance regressions. So we might, since vendors are the ones who set the thresholds, we might make it so vendors have to do a tighter threshold just so we can see early on if a patch has a regression in it. So if you'd like to get involved, the dashboard is lab.dpdk.org. There is a project page on the Bugzilla. There is a CI mailing list. Mostly, just now, there's mostly meeting minutes. So every 2 weeks we have a meeting, and mostly just meeting minutes have been posted there. But also, if issues get reported on the Bugzilla, then they also go to the mailing list. And if vendors would like to submit their own equipment to be used at the performance lab or the open lab in general, there's a page on the IOL website. You can also contact us directly at dpdklab@iol.unh.edu. And that's it for my presentation. Any questions?
Yes, I want to do a comment about the different labs we have. It's very cool to have this open lab because it's managed by UNH, thanks to them. And we run the same test on several platforms. So we can get the information that a test is failing on one platform and not the others. This is one good benefit. But at the same time, we have also some tests which are run especially in Intel Lab. Yeah. And there are also some tests in other labs that are not yet public. And I want to encourage more companies to run their own tests in their labs with their own software, their own use case, their own specific hardware, maybe a new hardware which is not yet disclosed. And then you can report your results from your own lab. And if you run some tests for each patch, the results can be displayed in Patchwork. It's an automated process. It is what we can call distributed CI, so everybody can participate. The Open Lab will be integrated in this distributed CI. Now, it's just a call to get more. And you know that it's very important for you, because if you export your test report publicly, we will know that someone is breaking your use case, so you won't have to fix it yourself. We will ask to the author of the patch to fix it, if it can encourage you to participate. So that's all for my comment. I just want to comment also what you said about the option to know where a patch should be applied. I would be in favor of the option 2, which is making a script.
Yes.
Actually, we already tried to write such script in Mellanox. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not finished. And I think this script should be hosted with the source code of DPDK. Yeah. And we must update the rules each time we have a new component in DPDK. Yeah. So it's just a kind of algorithm with some rules. And it will be used also for Patchwork, because in Patchwork, when we receive a patch, we need to know who will be the delegated maintainer in charge of this patch.
But as dedicated, this is your maintenance through manual control the dedicated, not the automated.
Yes, it's
Yes,
not automated currently,
so-
but we
so-
could automate it in Patchwork.
Oh, yes, that will be fine. If you can automate the decade, we can just identify the decade and get the actually the true subtree if the dedicate is automated. Yes, but currently the automated is manually, so we can't depend on most patches on the manual work. Yes.
I have a question regarding the test code itself. So is it upstream, the test code? Do you have some upstream link for the actual test code where people can share and add test cases of their own?
So right now, the Open Lab specifically is just using the DPDK test suite. So any kind of contributions to that, we would be utilizing that right now.
Yes, the DTS test suite is an open source. We can see the code in the DPDK.org. They have a page, the DTS. You can see our test case.
Okay, so I saw in the slides that if a patch results in a conflict, it is the maintainers who have to fix that. But I think it should be the other way around. I mean, it should be the responsibility of the patch submitter to make sure that they rebase it and provide a patch that is mergeable without any conflicts.
Yes, we have synced with the maintainers. They want to have an early merge in the future, as they truly on the effort on the. Hello. Actually, the maintainers have do some effort on this. They have a regularly merge work, such as they will merge the subtrees into the matrix weekly. They have do some effort on this, and we sync them. They think they want to use this. They prefer these options. That because when we earlier to merge the subtrees to the maintenance, that's the way. That's mean we have to a drafter for their merger work. So they want to see this. And for the conflict, it depends on the maintenance work. Of course, we will do some automated to identify some conflict, such as the document conflict. We will skip them. But for the code commit, we need to the maintainers to fix it.
Can I answer that one as well? It's working, yes. Sometimes the FE multiple authors sending patch based on master, so that's why it's conflicting. If it is simple enough and in the code, or it is just in documentation, mostly we are solving that conflict because to prevent the overhead that author sending patch again. And if it is multiple patch, it may happen in a cycle a few times. But if there's a complex conflict or it is not clear how to resolve it, yes, we are also asking from author to resolve it.
For more context, for a lot of application errors that we get on either the Open Lab or on Patchworks, it's just mostly because we're applying the patch directly to master as opposed to the tree that it was meant for. So I mean, over time, if the tree diverges too much, then we'll get more apply errors. But also having the weekly merge to master will also reduce that.
I have a question on the environment you have in Open Labs. Do you have any traffic generators, or are those test cases single machine test cases?
They run with a T-Rex.
Okay.
Yesterday, Ian mentioned with Red Hat guys planning to do some OVS testing. I wonder if it can be something we can merge or move into Open Lab. Just perhaps it's worth talking with them. I don't know.
Okay, I really concur Thomas's comment that if you have, each vendor should test their hardwares and as much as possible. So if you have test cases and test scripting, in the repository, people can share. That really helps in that area. So I have two questions. First one is, do you intend to do performance testing to compare different hardware? Second is any future plan to collaborate with other LFN open source project like OPNV, FIDO? They both have relatively, sophisticated testing cases and performance testing lab as well.
So for the second question, yeah, I've been told about FIDO, and I'll be looking more into it for inspiration to see how it would, how to maybe add some features that would help people looking at the dashboard. I don't know, what was your first question?
First one is, do you intend to do performance testing to compare different hardwares?
So the performance testing on the different hardware is more meant to see, like, if one hardware, because we've seen in the past with the dashboard where one piece of hardware is fine, but another vendor's hardware has a performance regression, and that might be because of driver differences. So that's mostly what it's meant for, not necessarily like comparing like how fast one machine is the other.
For the Open Lab, this is not used for the marketing. We can't compare the performance data between different vendors. So this is prohibited in the Open Lab. But for the technical, we can share with each other for the technical goals, for the technical purpose. Yes.
Also for OPNFV, we actually do have a lab at the IOL that has been working with the OPNFV, so I can also ask them as well.
More of a comment than a question. In your CI, you can run unit tests on a whole bunch of different hardware, even before merge. So that raises the question of submitting unit tests with the batch set. And actually, with Meson, we can just run all tests with one command, which means they can be picked up automatically without adding anything to DTS or anything else. So that could be useful as well.
Hi, I have some questions. So first, will your dashboard ever report things like code coverage numbers, or to get a sense how much the code is actually being tested by the unit tests, or any of the regression? Just even a course percentage to see oh, okay, we're deficient in some area, we should add more unit tests, or something like that.
I mean, so if there's a coverage tool in the tests, then we could definitely add that. But that's also, if the vendors would like to have that feature developed into the dashboard, then yeah, that can definitely be done. I mean, you can also, if you're using a specific framework, it would maybe just have it as an artifact, and you could just download it as an artifact and just see what the coverage is. But we could also, depending on the format, yeah, we could just output it straight to the dashboard.
Okay. Yeah. Do you provide the builds you make from specific patches available to download, or if someone wanted to integrate, could they just pull the build that you have from a set of patches and start using that, or do they have to also then go and pull the patches and reapply it and all?
I mean, right now, the members can go into the REST API, which right now is just behind a VPN, and they can just download the tarball, but we could definitely look into making the tarball just as part of the patch set page, so you can just straight download the tarball.
Okay. And does the bot protect itself from like a malicious patch? So if I submitted a patch that did an rm-rf/, like is that going to blow away your CI?
I mean, we literally do have a check for that, just in case. But yeah, we would have to probably look into that to make sure. You'd be also affecting the other labs participating in this too. So yeah, we should probably definitely look more into that. But it's also running in its own environment. So yeah.
So have you looked at VSPerf? So VSPerf has been marketed as a test suite for vSwitch, but basically before testing the vSwitch, you need to make sure that your platform is well configured, and what is done is you run testpmd on bare metal. And then you run testpmd as a vSwitch with testpmd in the VM, and you get performance number. T-Rex is supported, and then you go with OVS, and VPP is supported, and other things can be supported. So you can download and install VSPerf. So would you see some synergy between what you do and VSPerf and, for instance, maybe run some VSPerf job, let's say testpmd bare metal and testpmd as a vSwitch as part of your test suite?
I mean, if members want that, then yeah, we could definitely do that.
Red Hat is a little member, but we'd like to have that, yes.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And maybe we can help.
All right, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, contact us.
Great. If there are any other questions, thank you.
All right, thank you.